Hey guys, welcome to My Soul Bliss. Today I'm going to show you how to make a scallop banner using the Silhouette Cameo. The Cameo is an amazing cutting machine that can cut all different kinds of materials. So I'm going to be showing you how it can cut out fabric and help you to make this scalloped banner. So the materials that you're going to need are first your Cameo, and this is the Cameo 3. I'll put a link for it down below so you guys can go check it out, and make sure to check out all of the other tools that Silhouette makes. They have some really great stuff that will help in your crafting adventures. Then you're going to need the binding, and I just got this at Joann's. It is double fold binding. They have all different colors, so it's fun to pick and choose. It comes in a package that looks just like this. Just make sure that you're getting the double fold and not the single fold for this project. Then I needed some interfacing, and I just got the little pre-packaged kind, but you can also get the cut by the yard kind. Either one will work, just a lightweight fusible interfacing. And then I just used 7 different colored fat quarters for mine. You could use all the same colors or whatever fabric you want to use. I just used 7 different colors, and I used a piece of the fat quarter. I don't even use the whole fat quarter. So let's get started. Now the first thing that you're going to need to do is cut out your fabric to fit your mat. And I've also cut it out. It's a little bit shorter than my mat because I'm not using the whole thing, and I'll show you that when we get into the Silhouette program, what shapes I'm cutting out and how it's going to fit on here. So now I have it over at my ironing board, and I've just ironed it lightly, making sure it lays really nice. And then I'm going to spray some starch on it, and I just got this can at Walmart. I'm going to spray it about 6 to 10 inches away. And this is just going to make it nice and sturdy so that when it goes to cut it, the Silhouette Cameo can cut it really nicely and really clean, and it just makes things a lot easier. So I like to starch my fabric before getting it cut. So then I iron it for a minute. When you start to feel the fabric after you've ironed it, you can definitely tell a difference, and it feels a little heavier, a little more paper-like, and less flimsy and fabric-like, which is exactly what we need for the Silhouette to cut it. After I've starched my fabric, I then turned it over to the wrong side, and I have my piece of interfacing. This is just some lightweight fusible interfacing, and you want to place the bumpy side placed down on top of the wrong side of your fabric. And I just cut mine to be a little bit smaller than my fabric, and I'm gonna lay that so it's nice and flat, and then I'll take my iron and use my iron to press it down. Once your interfacing is ironed on, your fabric is all ready to go into the Silhouette Cameo. So now I'm gonna go prepare my machine and get it all ready and get the fabric loaded on. Now when you open up the Silhouette Studio, you're gonna see your mat like this, but there's gonna be nothing on it. So all I did was create these round circles, and then I drew a line through them, through the center of it, and that's gonna be where I fold the 2 in half so that I can sew them together. So to create mine, I came over here to this oval and selected the oval. And once I had it selected, I just had to come over to my mat and draw whatever size I wanted. So this is about a 4.7, and I made sure that it was the same tall as it is wide, or at least really similar, so that it was as close to a perfect circle as I could get it. So after I had my circle, which for these 2 that I have already on my mat, it's about 6.113 and 6.091. So that's as close as I could get it, but that works great for me. So I did 2 of those, and I tried to fit them as closely as possible so I could use as much of the fabric as possible, so I wasn't wasting a bunch of my fabric, because I love this fabric. I don't want to waste it. So I did those 2, and I couldn't fit a 3rd one down here, and that is why I cut my fabric to only be about this length right there. So let me show you. Let me delete that one. And if you come up to the top, you have the option on View, the drop down menu. You can do Show Grid, and it will tell you without even selecting things, how big it is. So 1 square is going to be an inch. So if I just count my squares, I know exactly how big it is, how wide it is, and then I can really measure it. And then to find the center, you just go in a little more than 3, and that's where I had my line drawn. And to draw your line, I came over here, and there's a line right here, and it's just your line tools, and it says draw a line. So easy and simple. I just drew a line, making sure I touched one edge and the other edge. And that's it, really. Like, even if you go outside of the circle, that's fine, because really it's just helping us by cutting the circle in half. So that way we have 2 equal pieces that we can then sew together. The Cameo takes all of the cutting and all of that time away and does it so quick and easy. I love it. So here I go back up here and I click no show the grid because I don't like all the craziness. So now I have my circles ready, my lines ready. I'm going to go over to send. Now, once I'm over in send, it's going to show you with the red lines exactly what it's going to be cutting. So if it looks funky or your line isn't all the way through, you might want to go back and change that. But then over here, I have my settings with my tool number 1, and I have mine on cotton thin because I'm using a thinner fabric. Even though it has the interfacing, this is just going to work the best for me, and it's on cut and auto blade. And for my settings, I'm actually leaving them exactly as they are. I did a bunch of test cuts with my fabric because I really wanted to make sure it would cut nicely with this fabric and this interfacing, and this is the settings that I found worked for me. So just check your settings and see what works for you. You might have to do a few tests, and that's what I love about this as well. They have the test option, which will draw a square and a triangle up in the corner, or you can use these arrows to maneuver that wherever you want on your mat. So it's really nice. Just play around with it and test it and really get a feel for your machine and what works best for it. Now, once your fabric is all ready and the settings on your computer are all ready, you can then put your fabric onto your cutting mat. So here I have my cutting mat on the back. The arrow is right here pointing up. And here's my fabric exactly how I need it to lay. And like I said before, this is the space that nothing is cutting on. The circles will not come down to this point. So that's really nice. And I make sure to press the fabric on really nice. There is a stickiness to this one, so it holds it in place really well for me. So now I can put it with my machine and line up the edges on either side. And once that's lined up, I can hit load on my screen, and it'll have it in place, ready to go. Then if I go over to my computer and hit send, it'll send it to the machine and it'll do its thing. When it's all done cutting, I can just hit unload, take my mat off, and pull my pieces off. So this didn't cut all the way through, which I'm okay with because really I just want to make sure they line up. But that was perfect. So now I have that half circle, and I also have this half circle. So now I have my 2 half circles finished in this color, and I'm gonna go do all my other colors, and then I'm ready to sew them. When your pieces are all cut out and you're ready to start sewing, you're gonna have this circle, so 2 half circles, 1 full circle, and I'm gonna take those pieces, put them right sides together. And if you want to, you can pin right along the curved edge. We're not gonna touch the straight edge right now. So I can pin right along here. I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine and I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch in all the way around the curve. So from this point to this point. Now, once you have your pieces sewn together, you can see here is the inside. Before you turn it right sides out, you need to notch along the curve. And I did a few right here and then a lot at the bottom. The bottom probably wasn't quite as necessary, but I just like to make sure it's gonna look really good. And this is gonna make sure when you fold it right sides out that there's enough room for the fabric to lay. So now that I have that done, I'm gonna fold it right sides out so I can push my curve out. And my fabric is pretty stiff, but that's okay because I actually really wanted it that way so that it will lay really nice hanging as a banner. So now that it's right sides out, I'm going to go over to my iron and press that down so that it looks really nice. And if you want to, you can go along the edge and just do a top stitch or an edge stitch. Now, once I got all of my scallops turned right side out, I pressed them really good so that the edges are nice and flat and they're just ready to go. And then I got all my colors together and I put them in an order that I preferred. And then I'm gonna take, this is double fold bias tape. I just got this at Joann's and you can get them in a bunch of different colors. So there is a lot of fun options. And all I did was I opened up the bias tape right here. That's why it's called double fold, because it has the 2 folds on the inside and then you fold it over so that all your raw edges are going to be enclosed. So I'm just taking my scallops and I'll do the red one next, and I just tuck it in there just like this and fold it closed. And then I'm going to pin that in place so that it holds it really nicely until I take it over to my sewing machine. And then I'll just stitch right along the edge of the binding, and that'll stitch all of them together and it will finish off our scallop banner. Now when you start attaching the scallops to the binding, I did leave off a little bit of the binding at the end so that I could tie it to something or hang it from something. So just make sure you do that so that you can attach it to wherever you're going to hang it. So now that they're all pinned, I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine, and like I said before, I'm just going to do a straight stitch right along the edge of the binding, making sure I'm catching the binding and the scallop. And then once you are done sewing that binding down, you are all done with your scalloped banner. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to go check out Silhouette and all their amazing machines. I'll put a link to them down below. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more tips, tricks, and photos, you can go check out our Instagram at MySewBliss. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!